So, the story of a wild 40-pounder. Back in spring last year, I stumbled upon this little estate lake, untouched, quite snaggy, gene clear, loads of gravel bars, quite weedy as well. There was about 10 fish in there, and there was one quite special, being a big common. I was walking around it back in spring. I just wasn't feeling it at the time. It was past spawning. They had already spawned, and I thought I'd leave it to the spring next year, just before spawning, hopefully try and catch it then. So I jumped on my syndicate and spent the year on there. And spring arrived. It was time to target this common. So when it come to targeting the common, I did a few laps round the pit. Didn't really see much apart from the odd one cruising over the top of the gravel bar. So I was stuck in a few kilos off the side of this gravel plateau, and it was at this channel that run between two. I was just off the edge of it, trying a different tactic to what other people had tried in the past. So I come back 2 weeks after to check the spots, and the bait had gone, and the fish were still visiting the area. So it got to around 9 o'clock on the beginning of May, 1st of May, and I decided to actually go over and put some rods out. Well, I got over there, didn't take the spot rod with me, so I had to go all the way home to go and get that. And it come to about 12 o'clock at night when I actually got back to the lake and got the rods out. By 1:30, I was already in the pit, tired of all the running around trying to sort of gear out in time. But when I actually decided to get my head down, it was maybe half an hour later when I got a few beeps on the rod. But with this lake, there was a lot of bird life, a lot of coots and stuff, and they was obviously diving on the spot. But knowing with the stock being so low, I didn't want to recast the rods and make a disturbance in case there was fish about in the area. Because you never know, when there's a lot of birds, you can never tell whether there's a fish in the area or not. So I got back in my sack, and it got to around 6:30, and I was woken up by a few bleeps on my right hand rod. So I stumbled over to the rods. I'm trying to get the waders on in case I've got to run, and I've got one foot in it, and I'm looking at the rod, and it's not doing anything. And I've looked over my shoulder. I've looked around the corner of this tree, and I've seen one coot sitting on the spot, but it weren't diving or anything. It was just bobbing around on the top, looking down, and I thought that's a bit odd. So I'm standing next to the rods for about half hour, and it's given off another 2 bleeps, and I've looked down, and I've watched the line slowly pull out of the water, and I've looked back up, and the coots just scooted off, and this big eruptions has hit the surface, and I thought, oh, that's a take, and just before I could even pick the rod up, it just screamed off. So I've hit the rod, and I've got the clutches quite tight because I don't want it to go over the edge of this bar into the gully. So I'm playing it on the tight clutch, just pulling quite a bit of line off me, and I'm thinking, I don't remember there being like a catfish or anything in the lake. I never see anything like that, and there's no way a 20-pounder is going to pull me that hard off a tight clutch. Anyway, it's managed to get itself over the over the back of the bar, and it's gone round into a bit of weed, and it's gone a bit solid, and I was like, I've got to get down the margin and try and change the line angle a little bit. So I've marched down the margin, and I've managed to free the line after about a minute and a half. And it's just hit the surface, and it's just shot across the lake. And at the back of the spot, you've got like maybe 15-20 foot until you've reached the main island. And on the corner of this island is this big tree that's fallen in. And it was just darting for that. You could just see it, like the V line's going straight across the top. And then I just knew I had to stop it at this point, so I just held on, and I was just giving it some to stop it from getting from this snag. I was not letting it gain any line on me. end up flipping it, and it just comes swimming back at me at like 100 miles an hour. So I'm just reeling down on this reel, trying to get back into contact with the fish. Anyways, on my left hand side, I've got another island with 2 channels that run, one in front and one behind it, and it's heading straight for this other island. So now I'm trying to keep it away from that one, and I've watched it bow wave just in front of the snags, and it's just missed them, and I thought, oh, that's a sigh of relief. But then it's gone down the first channel closest to me, and what I didn't realise was there was this stick that was in the water, and I couldn't see it at the time, and it'd gone into the reeds and round the stick, and it picked the stick up, and I see it bolt off the surface, but then it come back on itself. So I was like, it's got to be stuck to this stag, like. If I don't get it off this stag, I could lose this fish. So I've dropped the rod where it's already on a tight line stuck to this snag, and I just knew like it's either going to fall off to itself pulling the hook out of its mouth, or it's going to stay on, because it wasn't falling off with the hook hold that it had. But I didn't know at the time that it was so nailed. But anyways, I dropped the rod, and I've skirted down the margin, down through the reeds with the net. There's just before this big stick, there's this big hole, and I remember stepping in it and almost going over the waders, and then like stepping back out of it, going further into the reeds and back round to try and get to the fish. Anyways, I've managed to net the fish, and I've looked up, and my mate Reese is standing on the other side, and he said, "You got one, mate?" And I said to him, yeah. I was like, "You don't mind coming around to give me a hand, do you? I'm a bit stuck here. Like I've got the line going across me. I've got the net. It literally tucked up to me. This fish is still stuck to this. The line's still stuck to this snag." Anyways, I managed to unclip the rig safely from the lead. And then Reese has made his way around into the swim. I've said to him, "Could you chuck me the rod, mate, so I can free it?" Anyways, I've got the rod, and I've unwrapped it from the snag. And then I've said to Reese, I was like, "Have you got your waders?" He said, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, don't mind coming to get this fish and just taking it back to the swim for me, do you? I'm a bit stuck here." I did tell him about the hole, but he did come walking in, and he did fall down the hole and go over the waders. And that was my fault for not telling him. But he's managed to get himself back out the hole, and he's got hold of the net. He's walked the fish back to the swim safely, and I've walked after him, following him with the rod. Anyways, he's looked into the net, and he's gone, "I think you've got the big one, mate. That is a massive common." And at the time, I didn't know exactly what it looked like. I just didn't see photos of it, and the photos that I see, people is obviously making it look a bit longer than it already was. So when I actually looked in the net, and I said to Reese, I said, "Are you sure, mate? It doesn't look anything bigger than 35. Until he rolled the net over, and we just see the width of this thing. And we were just gobsmacked. Anyways, we've got this fish up on the scales, and we've zeroed the sling and everything. And I've pulled it up, and it's gone over £40. And I said to Reese, I was like, "It's gone over £40. I was like, "What was its last capture?" And he said, 39.8. So I was like, "Oh, you weigh it," because I was just in the moment of looking at this fish. I was like, "Wow, I don't know whether I've caught the big one on the first night, 6 hours into the session of this campaign." But yeah, anyways, he's lifted the scales up, and it's gone £40 too. And I think it's the first time it's been caught at £40 plus, and a new PB for me. But what was mad about it was, with it being such a low stock, I wasn't expecting to catch it first fish, and within so little time as well. So yeah, me and Reese enjoyed the evening after that. We popped out down the pub. We had a few drinks, and that was game. That was the spring campaign complete. Look at this. Oh my god. The shoulders on it.
Don't fuck around, boys.
Look at the mouth on it.
Mate, look how deep that rig is.
Look, it's nailed. The mouth is mint. Oh, jeez. Only wiggled the bigger net. £40 2 ounces. New PB for me. On the KLS, monster shellfish. Matching pop-ups over the top. Boom. Take that, mate. Lovely. Mwah. Yes.